Hello there and welcome. In today's video we are taking a look at the new pit lane start feature, how it works, what we can expect from it, and also the bugs that are currently plaguing this feature a little bit. I'll have a pinned post that I'll be making and updating once we actually get a fix for them, but the bugs are pretty bad and I'll be going over them towards the end of the video, probably also a little bit about the midpoint. But with that said, let's just jump in and see exactly what you can expect from this new feature. So basically, pit lane start punishment basically works a little different on sprint weekends compared to regular weekends, but we are going to go through it as it is. So in this case, I've already done the first practice on a sprint weekend, and that is the most important part, because the way a pit lane start penalty actually works is that if you make any changes after you've done your first session of sprint shootout qualifying 1, if you do any changes after this until the end of the sprint, you are going to get punished with a pit lane start. Now these changes are pretty straightforward, honestly, so let's go ahead here and simulate through sprint qualifying to the sprint, and then we'll take a look at what exactly you're no longer allowed to do once you get to this part of the weekend. So there we are. The first couple of sprint qualifying sessions has been completed. And now, if we take a quick look here, we have a bunch of things telling us that they have a blue highlight on them. And this blue highlight is actually really, really good. There's a ton of blue highlight on everything. And what this basically tells us, if we go out back here and do a little bit of reading, you see that we're now in Parc Ferm. Once the car goes out on track during sprint qualifying 1 or regular qualifying 1, a car part can only be replaced by part of the same design. Other replacements will be allowed after the sprint race. We're locked again after the cars go out during Q1. So basically, after you get started with sprint qualifying, you can no longer change anything unless you're switching with a similar part. Now what this means is you can actually change your chassis out for, let's say that I crashed in quali, I need to replace my chassis. As long as I replace it with the same spec, so in this case it's C5, I will generally not get penalized. If I, however, decide that I need to switch out my engine to, say, the fourth one available here, my regulation change gives me 4, this is a legal engine. Basically it shouldn't give me a grip penalty. If I were to change the engine, I'm going to get a pit lane start penalty. So it's just the aerodynamics that you are allowed to change from to the same spec and not get penalized if they accrue some damage. If you change your engine, your ERS, or your gearbox, you are going to end up with a pit lane start, no matter the reason why. Now, you can actually change your car setup now too after qualifying or in the middle of qualifying, and you can even see which setups here or which setup changes is going to result in a pit lane start. So they've actually done a really, really good job at highlighting what is part of Parc Ferm and what you really should no longer touch at any given point. These will not be blue if it's safe. And the best way that I can kind of showcase that is we'll simulate through the sprint here, and then we'll take a look and we'll see now that we are going to be allowed to make some slight changes to the car, like so. Nothing is blue anymore. We can change out our engines, our ERS, our gearbox if we see fit. We can do setup changes. There's not really any punishing, nothing is really going to punish us there if we do it. But this is the last chance that we will have during this weekend to actually do it. And as I mentioned here, as long as you do it before Q1 in a regular weekend, basically after your third practice, you can change out anything with 0 repercussions. Pretty straightforward and simple, which is rather good. Now I'm going to go ahead and simulate to the race and give you an idea of what you can expect when you do pick up a grid penalty, or sorry, a pit lane start rather. And it's actually pretty straightforward. As long as you change, say, our engine here, we're going to go ahead and do this. You get a very big warning here, brake Parc Ferm. Once the car goes out or during sprint qualifying 1 or in qualifying 1, car part can be replaced by one with the same design. Braking Parc Ferm will result in a pit lane start with the sprint. Now, we're no longer in the sprint, so this doesn't really matter. But we're going to go ahead and install that part. And as you can see now, this car has been updated to a pit lane start. Now, that's pretty straightforward, and honestly, as you can see here, we did that by changing our engine. Now, if we go to the other car here and say do some tweaking to the setup, because let's face it, this is not a great setup, we don't like it. We also here get a warning that we are going to get a pit lane start because we are changing a setting that breaks Parc Ferm. So, as you can imagine, it's pretty good that you do get that warning. Now we have both cars set up for pit lane starts, and this is also where the bugs are going to start coming in. There isn't really too much to the pit lane feature apart from this. It's basically just don't touch these things unless you want a pit lane start. And again, the punishment is starting from the pit lane. The bug that I'm going to be talking about is basically how the pit lane start currently does not actually work properly. And what I mean by this is basically the fact that you can stack pit lane starts in the same race weekend. So if I say after Q1 make some changes, replace my engine, and after I do Q2 I replace my gearbox or say change my setup, and then I do it again after Q3, because you expect, oh, it's just I've already taken the penalty for pit lane start penalty, it should be fine. Unfortunately, that's currently, as I mentioned, a bit bugged. And the best way I can describe the bug is very simple. Currently, pit lane start penalties seem to stack, and you can rack up a lot of them in one race weekend if you aren't careful. As a result, some people are saying already that they get the infinite pit lane start bug. I don't doubt that being a thing. But I think it's more a case of people just actually doing a lot of different changes and thus racking up a lot of different pit lane start punishments. And that is probably the buggy part. The game doesn't count it as a single infringement. It counts as several infringements at this point. And so if I change a lot of things here on a car, let's say that I change the car parts here and also the setup, sometimes you will get a double pit lane start penalty for that, which is silly and also, again, a bit of a bug. Another bug that you might experience, sorry, my voice is a little bit gone today. Another bug that you might experience is the fact that if I say buy a new engine here and use that, it would give me a grid penalty plus a pit lane penalty. In the real F1 rules, you can't really stack penalties. So even if I take all new components, change my setup, switch car parts out as I see fit, and get prepared for the race here in Coda, the penalties will only apply to this race. I would not have penalties carrying over. But that is what's happening in the game right now. So if you pick up, say, a pit lane penalty here because I'm switching my engine to a fresh one, you're going to get a pit lane penalty in your first race, and then you're going to get a grid penalty in the race following that. So in this case, it would be Mexico. And that's kind of, again, that's the bug with the system. It doesn't apply all the penalties that you rack up in a weekend to that weekend. And as a result, you can put yourself in a position where you get 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 8 or 10 pit lane start penalties in a row if you aren't careful. So try and make sure that you make all changes in, between this one session. Try and avoid getting a grid penalty and a pit lane start penalty at the same time. And the best way you can do that is putting on the new component before you go out in Q1, straight up. That is the easiest way to avoid getting a pit lane start penalty and a grid penalty at the same time. Do that and you'll just get the grid penalty. I'm also sorry again, this video has been a little bit disjointed. As you can hear, I'm a little bit sick. But that's basically it. The bugs are the most egregious part about the pit lane start feature. It's actually pretty good. Now if you have a really, really bad weekend, you are supposed to be able to take advantage by changing up your setup, getting it basically perfect by switching your car parts around as you see fit, and you're supposed to, again, just get a pit lane start for that weekend. It's not really working like that right now, and hopefully they'll fix it quick. So do keep that in mind. That is why you'll be seeing potentially several penalties in a row. But that's all I had to say about this. Thank you for watching. Hope it helped you a little bit. If it did, please like, subscribe, and I shall see you around next time. Bye bye.